Well, hello and welcome back to the 5 Pillars of Business Success. This is our Bootcamp Alpha Test. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your feedback. This is the last lesson of Pillar 3, Make a Profit. And this is really where we bring everything together. And you're going to do some calculations of this. As I promised, you did one calculation so far, and we've got 2 more that you need to determine. And that's all we want you to know as far as entrepreneurial profit goes. But it's taken us a while to get here. This is one of the longer pillars, but it's that important. We made it longer, even for a boot camp. We're putting as much information in here as you need so you can quickly get the business. Okay, remember Jimmy's imperative. If you remember from the earlier lessons of Pillar 3, we have determined that Jimmy's Lawn Care must generate $5,613 per month and $3.20 for each acre that he mows. So that's his imperative. And that's the basis for his imperative. But in order to get to that, remember, to be profitable, this is what we need to determine. Jimmy must mow how many acres at what price? That's really the goal here. How many acres does he need to mow, and at what price must he charge to do that? Okay, so the imperative answers is going to require break-even analysis. We need to determine your unit break-even, reality check, determine your price break-even, and then also have another reality check. So we discussed that leading into this lesson, so let's get on with it. Okay, let's look at a unit break-even formula. Okay, here's the formula. That's going to be your fixed cost divided by the price you're charging per unit minus your variable cost per unit. So let's just show this a little bit differently. Fixed cost divided by price per unit minus variable cost per unit. That will give you the number of units that your business needs to sell in order to break even. And that means basically pay all your personal bills and all your business bills. And in other words, to achieve an entrepreneurial profit, which is what we're after. So here's Jimmy's formula. $5,613, those are his fixed costs we just went over a moment ago. And then he takes his price per acre and he's going to subtract $3.20 from that. So he's going to take, first step is going to be he takes his price per acre minus $3.20, and then he divides that into the $5,613 to determine how many acres he needs to mow to pay his personal bills and his business bills. So that's going to end up being the acres Jimmy must mow per month. So let's get at it and see what he's got to do. So here's Jimmy's break even. If Jimmy charges, okay, this is what Jimmy does. Okay, he does like so many small business owners do. They're working for somebody. His previous boss was charging $30 per acre. He did the math. He figured out what he was charging. And Jimmy's saying, hey, I'm going to get in the market. I want to get some business quick. I've got to pay my own bills, so I'm going to undercut the guy I was working for before. So he decides he's going to charge less than his previous employer, who, by the way, is now his competition. So he's going to charge $25 per acre to get business quick. You may be thinking about doing that. You may know people who have done that. Well, Jimmy's doing the same thing, and let's see what happens with Jimmy. If Jimmy charges $25 per acre, here you go. Here's his formula. Here's his break-even formula. Sorry, my nose itches there a little bit. He's got to take his $5,613. That's his fixed cost. And he's going to take his $25 price, and from that he is going to subtract $3.20. So what he ends up with is $5,613 divided by 2180, and that means he must mow 250 acres per month in order to pay his business bills and his personal bills. That's a good first step. At least we know the reality of what he's going to need to do. So here's what his profit looks at if he charges $25 an acre. And I think he figures he's going to charge his $25 an acre. He thinks, well, this guy must be making a living, charging 30, so I should do just as well if I charge 25. Little does Jimmy know that his boss is probably living in survival mode also. So well, not that Jimmy's there yet, but anyways, side note, sidebar. Okay, let's move forward. So here you can see his revenue, $5,645 minus variable costs, $320 times 258 acres, $826. That gives you what we call a gross profit of $5,624. From that, we're going to subtract his fixed costs. You'll notice here I kind of added his fixed expenses plus his debt together. That's all the money coming out of his business each month. It's going to be about the same from month to month. So that's $1,305. That gives him an operating profit, quote unquote, of $4,319, and then we subtract his personal expenses, which his business is going to have to generate if he's going to sustain his livelihood. Very important. Of $4,308, and that leaves him $9 left over, and that $9 is there really because I simplified stuff with rounding. So anyways, you want this to be 0 or higher. That means you're paying your business bills, your personal bills. If this number is greater than that, which is really the goal, if it's greater than 0, you're going to have money to reinvest in your business. You're going to be able to pay all your personal bills, all your business bills, and you're not going to have to go in debt. Yes, that's what we're after. Okay, Jimmy's imperative. So now we know that to be profitable, Jimmy must mow 258 acres per month at $25 an acre. Okay, so there's his business imperative based on the assumptions of $25 a month and his cost structure. So you're going to need to do that with your own business. That's going to be part of your job at the end of this lesson. Okay, but now let's go for the first reality check. Can Jimmy actually mow 258 acres each and every month during the year to pay his bills? That's reality check number 1. That means he needs to mow 65 acres a week. That is 1.63 acres an hour if he wants to work like the number of hours he was before at his previous job. So he needs to be able to mow during an 8-hour day or a 40-hour work week, which we're assuming is going to be about average here. That's what he was doing before. If he wants to keep the same lifestyle as far as working, not working, he's going to need to mow 1.63 acres per hour for each and every hour on average of a 40-hour work week. Now, here's the question. Can Jimmy mow that number? That's his reality check. Can he mow the 256 or whatever, 258 acres per month? Well, the good news is he lives in Florida. So he can mow year round. So that's a good thing. If he lived up, you know, in a mid-Atlantic state or something like that where they actually have a winter, he's going to have to mow a lot more acres than that per hour unless he wants to do some snow plowing or get a job in the off season, because there's 3 or 4 months of the year they really don't have much work, particularly if you're only mowing lawn. So he's living in Florida, so grass grows year round in Florida. So that's a good thing. But the weather, you know what it does in Florida? It rains, and it rains a lot. Now the weather's going to cost him 1 day a week. So there's going to be a day a week where he can't go out and mow because of, you know, the ground's too soggy or it's literally raining. He can't mow in that weather. So he's going to lose 8 hours per week during a 5-day work week on average due to the weather. And also, Jimmy thinks about it a little bit more. He's like, hey, I got all these jobs scattered around. They'll probably be scattered miles and miles apart. I've got to carry this equipment around in a trailer. I've got to unload it and load it. And he does a little bit of math, and he figures, you know, if the average distance between jobs is 4 or 5 miles, and you know, if he's living near the city, it's going to take him a while to get between jobs. He's going to lose, on average, 3 hours every day just loading and unloading his equipment. That's the time he's not mowing. He's only generating money when he does what? When he's running that lawnmower. All right, so he's going to lose another 15 hours a week due to merely driving. That's really crazy. So that leaves him, if he wants to work a regular work week, Monday to Friday, remember he can work year round. I understand if you're, you know, if you're mid-Atlantic state, you want to cram all those, you're probably working 7 days a week because you're going to have some off period later. But he wants to work a regular, that's his goal. He wants to have a life. So he can only really mow 17 hours during that 40-hour work week from Monday to Friday. You know, that's all he's got. So that means if it's all he's got, Jimmy's going to have to mow a lot more acres per hour. He's going to have to mow 3.8 acres per hour if he, in that 17-hour time frame, if he wants the weekends off, or he's going to have to work 55 hours a week around the weather, just work whenever he can, because remember, he's got that 3 hours a day, assuming he's going to work 5 hours a week. But if you count those 15 hours loading and unloading equipment just for a 5-day period, that means he's going to have to work 55 hours per week. Now, Jimmy's reality here is probably somewhere between the two. You know, if he works more hours, maybe he can mow 3 hours, you know, he's got to mow 3 acres per hour. You know what I'm saying? And maybe work 50 hours a week. But anyways, these are kind of two extremes of the reality that Jimmy is facing. So this is his first reality check. And the reason for this is because Jimmy has what is called production constraints. So does your business. Every business has it. So does your startup. Even if you're not in business yet, you are going to have some form of production constraints, particularly small businesses, particularly startups. And what these are, it's a fancy way of saying these are circumstances beyond your control Well, some of these are you can control, but there are circumstances that limit how much work can be completed within a given period of time. That could be the number of hours you can work, the number of hours you can bill in a day. What's amazing is a lot of professionals charge by the hour. They might charge $70, $80, $100 an hour, but they may have like 2 to 3 billable hours per day because they're spending so much time doing other type of work that's not directly related to what they bill. I mean, yeah, not directly related. They're not billable hours. They're administrative work, they're marketing, they're doing other things. So this could be, your constraint could be the number of hours you can work or bill in a given day or a given week or a given month. If you're in a restaurant business, it's how many meals you can cook in a given period of time. You might be limited by the number of tables you're serving. You might be limited by the number of the turnover of those tables in your restaurant. All these items can be a production constraint. If you're an automotive mechanic, you can only fix so many cars a day. If you're just doing oil changes, there's only so many you can do in a day. Maybe your production constraint is a geographical area you serve. Maybe you're limited to a certain geographical area, so you could go outside that area and make money, but you're limited. You're tied down to a certain area, maybe the customer base in that area. If you don't move, maybe they have certain demographics that are good for your business, or they could be a constraint, which really isn't a production constraint, it's really a marketing constraint. But I digress again. Okay, you can only build so many houses. You can only complete so many jobs in a given period of time. So, reality check here, which we're working on, you need to reevaluate the facts to determine your production constraint, and also we need to determine our production capacity. So Jimmy's reevaluating. He's reevaluating reality, he's reevaluating the facts, and that's what he's doing here. He's looking at his production constraints, which we just introduced, and for him, it's the number of acres he can mow per hour. And it's also the number of hours he actually can spend on that lawnmower mowing, generating revenue. That's his revenue generator, is that sitting on that mower, driving around mowing grass. Now, acres mowed per hour, that's really limited to his equipment in the geographical landscape of the type of lawn he's mowing. I mentioned geographical constraints earlier. That would be example production constraint, which I didn't think of till just now. Okay, hours mowed, this would be limited due to weather, driving, and time he spends doing administrative work, whether it's bookkeeping, marketing, there's a lot of work a small business owner has to do that's not directly related to generating revenue. You got to keep that in mind. Now, his production capacity, however, that's what we're leading towards. His production capacity, he's reevaluating. Those are the number of units you can reasonably produce within a given period of time. So you got your production constraint, and knowing that forces us to reevaluate and say, hey, well, what can I really do? So then what we want to do is arrive at your production capacity. Both Jimmy does and you do for your business. It's the number of units your business can reasonably produce within X period of time. All right, so Jimmy considers the weather and factors he can control. He can't control the weather, but he can control other factors. He can control his mower, for example, the size and speed of the mower. Faster the mower, the wider the deck, the more lawns he can mow, the more acres he can mow, the more dollars he can generate within a given period of time. He looks at his driving time between jobs. The more jobs he has that are close together, packed together, the less driving time, the less time he's going to be, the more time he can mow. Another way to say it, administrative time, he can form streamlined systems and get some of that administrative work, maybe hire some of that out. He can spend more time behind the lawnmower, or on the lawnmower, I guess you would say, behind the wheel of a lawnmower. So his production capacity, Jimmy does a reevaluation, and he determines that he can consistently mow, given his production constraints, 136 acres per month. That's what he can reasonably mow from month to month on a consistent basis, given his production constraints, and still have a life, and still make it to the kids' ball games, be home for dinner at least 3 or 4 nights a week, have at least one day off on the weekends, still have a life. So that's what he's after. But if he's charging 25 bucks an acre, he ain't gonna make no money. He's gonna make less than half of that $700 that he was making before at the job he quit to go in business for himself, doing the exact same thing. So if you remember from the business of business lesson number 1, we kind of discussed this. He's going to, by undercutting his competition, he's going to have to work a lot more hours, or he's going to take a pay cut. So that's the reality he's facing. So he can reasonably mow $136. So That leads him to think, well, heck, I can't charge $25 an acre. I've got to do some kind of reality check. I've got to look at this differently. This brings us into our second equation for this lesson. This is price break even. Now this is the next step in the process. We just did unit break even. Now we want to do price break even. So what is the minimum price that Jim must charge per acre? Now we into the break even formula based on unit price. And this is a slightly different formula than before, but this is how you calculate it. We're all going to calculate it. Jimmy's going to calculate it. You're going to have to calculate it at some point for your business. And you take your fixed costs divided by that production capacity that Jimmy just determined, and then you add your variable cost to determine your break-even price. So this is how the formula looks for Jimmy. He's got $5,613 fixed cost, as you recall. He can mow. His productive capacity is 136 acres a month. So you take and you divide those two together, you add a $3.20 variable cost, and that's how much he's going to have to charge per unit on average per acre to break even. So there's his fixed cost, a reasonable number of units Jimmy can complete within a given period of time, adds his variable cost, and this ends up really being the price that he must charge. And for you with your formula, it's the price you must charge to create an entrepreneurial profit, pay your bills and your personal bills and your business bills within a given period of time due to your production capacity. So for Jimmy, it's it ends up being, if you do the math, $41.28 an acre plus $3.20 per acre. That gives you a total of $44.48 per acre that Jimmy's going to have to charge to break even. That's a big difference in $25 an acre, but that's his reality. That's what he's going to have to do. So here's how his numbers look at $44.48. You can kind of do the math here, and you can pause this and take a look at it, but there you show it. See the $1 there is a little closer to 9 on the last one, all rounding. Okay, now to be profitable, this is business imperative number 2. This is his second business imperative because we're working towards what reality is for Jimmy. To be profitable, Jimmy must mow 136 acres per month at $44.48 per acre. That's his new imperative. Now, here's reality check number 2. So, what customers, or are there customers out there that would be willing to pay $44.48 an acre for Jimmy to come and mow their lawns? Now, the customer, remember, from customer experience, the decision makers, he needs to find decision makers who need his lawn service and who can afford to pay the price that he must charge for that product or service. Now, what customer experience would these customers expect if they're going to be paying $44.48 an acre? It's going to be quite different than those customers paying $25, okay? That's what we're kind of getting at with this lesson. So let's make a couple observations here about the relationship between price and quantity. Lower prices, that means more units must be sold. That kind of makes sense, but the lower your price, more units must be sold. Now think about that. That means lower prices, the more customers you have to serve. So that basically means you're dealing with more customers. Lower prices require greater productivity and efficiency. The higher price you charge, the less units that must be sold, but the customer experience becomes much more important. Higher prices, however, do not always mean you're going to have less customers. If you ever try to give something away for free and you put it in your yard, and it's for free, which I do is a lot of things over years, you give it for free, no one wants it. You put $25 on it, guess what? It miraculously sells, which is really wild, but it does. So what I'm getting at here is customer experience can increase your prices. All right, so here's Jimmy's price and break even. There's all this, just to illustrate all the different prices from $25, 257 acres, which is rounded, I use the spreadsheet to calculate this. But you can see where he's at right now. At $45 an acre, roughly, he's going to have to sell 134 acres. It's really 136, but I'm doing rounding here. 136 acres per month. Now, what does this tell us? It tells us the lower price, the more productivity becomes important. The more important systems are, which is pillar 4, are to his productivity. Now, the higher the price, the more important the customer experience is to command a higher price. He's going to have to generate a much different focused experience for his customers. Someone that needs, wants, can afford the price he must charge per acre. And believe me, they're out there. He just needs to find them and create his business around those customers. Some more observations. Most startups have a production constraint. You do. You just have to determine what it is, and that's part of this lesson. And most small business owners, as a result of that production constraint, really can't compete on price and achieve success. It's what I tell clients all the time, students all the time. There can only be one Walmart. If everybody's competing on price, you're on a race to the bottom. Congratulations, you don't want to win that race. Most cannot compete on price and achieve success. Most must compete on the value they add, the customer experience, for their customers, finding their customers, creating experience. Pillar 2, the customer experience. So your job is going to be complete your price and unit break-evens. Start with the unit, then go to the price. Determine your business imperative. You may have a couple, because one may be based on what you think you're going to charge, another might be based on what you must charge to pay your bills. And then I want you to revisit the customer experience, revisit that in light of the price that you must charge. And then next pillar, pillar 4, we're going to dig into systems, manage systems, lead people, systems of productivity, and they're also for creating the customer experience. But let's revisit the customer experience, or you can just start watching pillar 4. But at some point you've got to revisit the customer experience, because all these pillars, remember, they all tie together. They're not steps, they're pillars. You need all 5 pillars. So thank you so much for watching, and that, I believe that ends up. That is the end of pillar 3, make a profit. So we will see you in pillar 4, manage systems, lead people.